This video is sponsored by Imperial Gaming and Collectibles.
I'ma show you how to get paper, boy. Show you how to get to that shit, stack it up real high, real high. See the hate in your eye, but I can't tell just what you hating for. See you over there hating, but I don't really know what you hating for, bro. Never really pay attention to what they doing, I just ignore. I don't even really pay attention, man. I'm Stevie Wonder to all that shit. Stop no talking, let your progression, they callin'.
What's up, Paper Gang? My name is Paper Yugioh, and welcome back to the first ban list prediction video on the channel. I am here with my boy Brian Rodriguez. Brian, what is good, my boy?
What is going on, my boy? How's it going?
Dude, I'm doing great. What it do, babies? How you feeling tonight, my guy?
I am feeling great, man. I am just chilling. Let's ready to do this video.
That's right. Let's get right into it. So basically, this is the first ban list prediction video on the channel. The most recent ban list was on February 7th, 2022, and Konami actually hit us with the who because they told us that
No. They gave me the blessings this time, Papa.
Well, they helped you a lot out on the ban list, but I'm saying they hit us with the who in the sense that they told us that the next ban list would be nothing sooner than a few months from now, which is like usually they give us a certain month or a day within that month, but unfortunately this time it's a little bit more vague. Having said that, Brian and I have brainstormed and we've come up with some cards that could be banned, limited, unlimited, and semi-limited. We're going to go through all of them for you guys. So without further ado, why don't we just start out with the bans. So first ban card we have here is Artifact Scythe. Brian, I don't think there's much to say about this card. What about you?
This card is so degenerate. It's like every time there's a way to lock the opponent out of the extra deck mechanic of the game, it just becomes like a really toxic format or a really stale format, as you say, because like literally every end board from every meta deck has a Scythe lock of some sorts.
Right.
And it's really disgusting. Like, I do it too. I'm guilty of it, just like everybody else. And hey, it wins games, but it's just toxic and it gotta go. And my personal opinion is, I don't think they'll be playing Scythe if Dagda was banned. But, you know, Scythe is the problematic card because Sanctum still is a card, even if you were to ban Dagda.
Right. Next, we got Despot001. I personally thought that, okay, if Hulk doesn't get banned, that Despot001 might have to take the blame on the ban list because summoning this off of Halqifibrax is just a way to go into Auroradon and then bring this back every time the three machine tokens are summoned. So it kind of goes back to that theory, like, why not just ban Halqifibrax? Because pretty much the tuners are going to keep taking the blame for everything that Halqifibrax facilitates. So that's basically all I have to say about 001. You personally don't think this card will get hit?
I think this format, it's like, everybody that is playing this card is like in making the Auroradon combo like the most important part of the play. Like Hulk is a very broken card, and I believe Hulk is probably the most likely card to get banned just because it just starts that whole combo.
Right.
Any monster with a tuner is just full combo at that point.
Right.
It's really disgusting. All the top meta decks that are like Sword Soul. You got the base deck. You got any deck that can basically play a Auroradon combo is just dropping it right now. It's really disgusting.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving right along, we have Destiny Hero Celestial. This is something that I actually took inspiration from Yugioh Replays. I'm going to link his YouTube channel down in the description below. Be sure to go follow him. I am in a Discord with him. He has amazing replays. He commentated the Goofy Gauntlet. Celestial is a card that I think could get banned just because it just makes the DPE engine too much. It's like you shouldn't get to have DPE every turn as well as draw 2 on your follow-up. What do you have to say about this card?
Well, kind of the same theory can be said a little bit with Dasher just because it's a free special summon from hand if you top deck a monster while Dasher's engraved.
Right.
Now, Celestial requires you to have no cards in hand, and yes, that is very easy to do with everybody playing 60-card decks and a billion combo lines to start. Everybody's playing minimum 4 engines in the deck. So there's like many different ways to approach that. Celestial is definitely a draw 2. It's definitely a plus advantage. Definitely makes you draw into some more broken stuff or just more ways to like block the opponent out of just doing anything on their turn. Like, it's really good. So I think it'll survive, honestly. Like, they'll probably limit Fusion Destiny or ban VERTE and force the players to, like, really hard draw that Fusion Destiny if they really want to make DP.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I actually think that Fairy Tail Snow can go back down to 0. I think it's like Brad Sear said, like, all of the best meta decks are playing this card. if they're not going to put it back to 0, they could easily errata it to be a hard once per turn. There's no reason why this card should keep coming back from the graveyard every single time you banish 7 cards, multiple times per turn, and not to mention it books a card on your opponent's side of the field. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. You happened to say before that you think it's going to stay the way it is because it just came off. I just think the card is way too ridiculous.
It's not like that format where they unban Snatch Steal and then reband it right after. I think it's a little bit different than that. I really think it's going to stick around for at least a few formats. And when it becomes meta warping, then yeah, they'll probably... If this 60-card deck trend keeps going, then yeah, they'll probably put it back to 0 or reban it. But I don't think they're going to ban it right away. I think they're going to let it sit for a format or two before they possibly put it back on the ban list, or possibly even up it to 2 if it doesn't become an oppressive card again.
Okay, well, I'm going to argue that it has already solidified itself as one of the most oppressive cards in the format, but we'll agree to disagree on that one. All right, so for the next 3 cards on the list, I think we can kind of lump all 3 of these together. We have Dagda, Verte, and Hulk. I think one of these cards definitely gets the axe. If it's not, I don't think it's going to be Dagda. I mean, Dagda could get banned, but the thing is, you still have other ways to access the Scythe lock. If Dag doesn't get banned, then probably Verte, because you like having both access to Dagda and DPE on the in the same combo is way too broken. Or Hulk could get banned and just kind of cut that entire thing off and make it so that you don't get to do Hulk combo as well as these 2, or any iteration of 2 of the 3. So what do you have to say about these 3?
So I think the most problematic card is the Halqifibrax for sure. I think Verte will survive another format only because of the Albaz structure deck soon to drop. I really think they're going to let that sit for that one format, and then they'll ban the Verte once that deck pretty much takes over the format, because Despia is about to get really strong really fast.
We have 2 more cards in the ban section. I personally think Auroradon can get banned. It's pretty broken, the fact that you could just create 3 monsters. Yeah, it does lock you into Synchro Summoning, but normally it's played in decks where that really doesn't matter at all. You're just going to Synchro Spam from there and put up like 3 Omni Negates. So I think Auroradon could get banned. What do you think?
Auroradon is token producers are common to be banned at some point in the game.
Right.
Now that this card is seeing a lot more meta play than it did when it first got released, yeah, I think the time has come to ban this token producer. Token producers are known to get banned relatively fast. Look at number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk. Scapegoat just came to 2 because nobody's going to play. It's relatively slow, and you got to play like link climbing in this game. It's not a lot of links. Nobody's really playing a lot of like link spreaders and a lot of link Karibles and all that. It's really weird. I don't think Scapegoat's not going to do much, even at 2.
And finally, in the ban section, I think Cherubini could definitely get banned, especially because it can send the Water Enchantress. And not only that, but it sends a card for cost. That card, like the fact that it sends a card for cost is just absolutely bonkers. Like, Veiloring this card literally does not matter.
Yeah, no hand trap really does anything. It's like the only thing that really hurts this card specifically in this format is just Ogre, because it's like the more popular decks playing Cherubini are basically any level 3 access based deck, any Brave based deck that just spams level 3s, or PK specifically with Brave and or without Brave.
Right.
And I'm playing a version of PK without Brave, and I'm telling you, just dumping these BA cards to get my free Ruxties, too good. Once I get the Enchantress, it's like, yeah, dump Enchantress. It's pretty strong.
Who?
Yeah, if you have the full PK combo, but you don't have Brave, yeah, Cherubini, dump Enchantress, and then just search your right, and then just go off from there.
That's insane. For the limits, we don't have nearly as many, but I've got Fusion Destiny to 1, Harp to 1, Enchantress to 1, and Colossus to 1. So why don't you talk a little bit about Harp, because I know that's the one that you're most excited for.
So me personally, I've been itching for this card to come off the list the last, 3 ban lists. I really think it can come back now. Like, Engage is not once per turn, and it came back, and it's doing nothing. Yes, Orcus is a strong engine if you were to add Harp to it. I believe it gives us that extra extended to move forward with those combos, but it can be an engine that's easily splashed into other decks. And because the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved since it was banned, I believe this engine would quickly be splashed into a lot of decks, dark-based decks that can easily play this card. Right. I'm itching for it to come back personally because I love the archetype. It's one of my favorites. It was my first meta deck I ever played, so that's just me personally thinking it can come back. I think it does nothing, though. I don't think it's going to warp the format again. Not like you think Snow is, though.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely, like, they could try to bring it back to 1 and see what happens. No one's really playing Orcust right now, and, you know, there's a lot of dark decks, sure. Like, there's a lot of really powerful dark monsters, and you could argue that light and dark are the two most powerful attributes in the game right now. But yeah, they could try to bring Heart back, and if it's just too crazy, like, they could always just emergency ban it.
So if they're going to bring back Heart, I could see why you would want to ban Snow. It would really, like, take away from the 60-card decks a little bit. My theory is that they're only a lot of people are playing 60-card decks because a card like Snow is so free at that point.
Right.
So it's just some little last input on that theory right there.
I think in terms of Fusion Destiny, I think putting Fusion Destiny to 1 is the right call. There's two things. One, if you get stopped on a VERTE Anaconda and they send the Fusion Destiny, basically your DPE is gone. So I think that kind of balances it out. And not to mention, if you were to hard open one of the Fusion Destinies, you could still slap that down even if your VERTE gets hit. And it's like having that access kind of makes it a little bit unfair. I think just putting it to 1 and then just being done with it, especially if you're gonna keep VERTE in the game, is probably the most fair way to go about it.
So if you keep VERTE in the game, Fusion Destiny to 1 is the optimal play, because as you've seen with my deck profile, I told you about the Predator Plant combo where I can search the Fusion Destiny, make the VERTE, still bait it out, and then if they stop my VERTE, I'm just slapping down the Fusion Destiny that I searched.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so with the Predator Plants specifically, it makes it pretty ridiculous. Even though no one right now is playing the Predator Plants, that was a really spicy addition to your deck. Predator Plant is kind of like Tour Guide. Like, not a lot of people are going to play Tour Guide just because it loses to, like, almost every hand trap. But
yeah, that's true. But E-Telly at 3 really made that difference, and that's why I was also playing Tour Guide. I just wanted to see a lot of starter cards in that particular moment.
Right. Okay, now we have kind of a hot take, a little bit of a controversial take here with the Water Enchantress of the Temple to 1. I just think right now all the best decks are playing Brave, and there's got to be some kind of check to it at this point. They're releasing so many good new cards. This engine is just so ridiculous, the amount of access that it gives you, and the fact that you can just banish this card either from your grave or your hand, or it could special summon itself. Hitting this card to 1 would definitely make it a lot less accessible. And of course, there is still the issue of Cherubini being able to dump this card. So it basically, putting it to 1 would force you to either play the Cherubini or to play a smaller package. So I think this card at 1 would be fine right now.
Enchantress is a very strong card, but also think of Right as a card itself. Now, the engine cannot play without Right, so yes, the more optimal card to hit at that point would be the Enchantress.
Right.
But they also can search it off of the Faithful Journey if they needed to. So it's definitely a card you can possibly limit to 1. And on top of that, you can also dump it with Cherubini like you stated earlier in the video. So
right.
It's a very good hit. I just think it's a little too soon, but I mean, who am I to say it's too soon? The card's fucking strong, you know? Excuse the language, but it's damn good, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It could definitely get hit, and I think no one would be that... I mean, people would probably be upset about it just because of how expensive the engine is, but no one would be like, oh, okay, that was unexpected. I mean, if the engine were to get hit in some way, shape, or form, I think everyone could rest easy and be like, yeah, I could have expected that. And then finally, another hot take on the semi-limited list. I think Colossus could come back to 1. I think just having Thunder Dragon Colossus allows the Thunder Dragon deck to make a reemergence. The only thing is there is that generic Thunder card that you can activate from hand that would allow you to make a Colossus. That card would probably have to take a hit. But the thing is, that card is really not being played in any strategies because Colossus is not in the format. So if we were to put Colossus back into the format and kind of give that back to the Thunder Dragon players as a check to the meta, I think that could really be great. And basically, only at 1, only having to deal with 1 is really nice.
So Colossus is a fusion monster that's technically is summoned like a Link 1 monster. And that's what makes him really, really good. That's 1. 2, it's basically the trap card Mistake or an on-field draw or Thunder King Ryo with built-in protection. It's really disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. But not only that, but it's like Thunder Dragons as a deck just kind of feels very janky without this card. Like, you're basically just making, like, Titan Pass.
You're making Titan Pass for sure, especially, you're most likely making 2 Titans when you make your VERTE, because that's pretty much what their end boards just look like, unless they're doing some weird Dragon Link combo or some type of combo where they're playing, like, another Dark and Light engine.
Right.
It's not really good right now. I think Colossus will make the deck more playable for sure. Mm-hmm. And Colossus is one of those cards that is a splashable engine in other decks. Like, I would see Dragon boards back in the day when Colossus was legal, like splashing in that one Colossus. Or when you played Guru, you had Colossus and you randomly made it on me once. I was just like, how? And I was just like, oh, okay, word. Like,
yeah,
got me there.
All right, let's move on to the semi-limits. So we've got 3 semi-limits here. We've got Engage, Gazelle, and Call by the Grave to 2. Let's start with Engage. I mean, it is kind of risky to bring Engage back to 2, but here's the thing. Striker is not doing too much right now. You see a Striker player here and there. Imperial Order coming off the list kind of like made the 1 Engage better, but it's like, I don't really think that putting Engage to 2 is going to make Striker that broken where it's going to be the top deck in the meta.
No, I think this card can come back to 2 safely. I would just, like, be wary that players will start representing the deck a little bit more now with Engage at 2. The card is still not once per turn at the end of the day.
Right.
But, I mean, the card is strong. The OCG has it at 2, and they have multi-roll at 3. I think we would probably get the Engage before we get a card like Drones back, just because of token producing, like I said earlier in the video.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the time for Engage to come to 2 is now.
Yeah.
I think it's a good time for it to come to 2.
Yeah, and I think that, obviously the price of this card and the amount of representation we will see absolutely skyrocket. It still remains to be seen whether or not Master Duel is any implication into the TCG as to if they're testing out cards in Master Duel to see if they could come back in certain quantities to the TCG. We're going to have to find out basically once we get the first ban list in the first ban list in the TCG since that game's launch, and the first ban list in Master Duel as well. So that remains to be seen. Moving on, we do have Gazelle. I personally think this card could even come back to 3 if it really wanted to, but I think knowing Konami, they're going to try to put it back to 2 first. Salamangreats just isn't doing anything right now. I mean, they put Circle back to 2. The deck is still doing nothing. What do you think about this card?
Well, I mean, don't sleep on the deck. You can still get clapped by the deck every now and then. Sleep on it. The deck is very strong. It can play through 1 billion hand traps. Having their Mirage Stalio back was a big, big boost, and having Circle at 2 really made it a little bit stronger. Obviously not a lot of representation, but I think that will be subject to change once they put this Gazelle back to 2, because Gazelle's a very, very cool card to interact with. It just literally just link summon off your spinny, and then you just get your free Gazelle dump. Oh, it's just so disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and finally, yeah, I know you hate that card because I whooped that ass multiple times with this deck, boy.
Alright, I'll hit you again.
No, I will say this. Zombie World do be very strong, though.
Oh, we know that, Papa.
And then finally, I have Call by the Grave. Could potentially come back to 2. It's at 2 in Master Duel. What's it at in the OCG? Is it at 2?
OCG has it at 2.
Okay, I believe it is at 2 in the OCG. But in any case, I think that they just put this card to 1 just so they could sell Crossout. Now that everyone has Crossout, I think giving us back another Call by the Grave would be really nice. Although Called by the Grave is a very strong card. It's incredibly strong. Any deck that's playing it at 1 is going to immediately start playing it at 2 if it comes back to 2. I just think with everyone playing so many hand traps, I think putting Called by the Grave back in would give the game a little bit more flexibility. Also, when you see our unlimits, or my unlimit specifically, you're going to see why I think this card could come back to 2. But I don't really think there's much more to say about that. Let's see what happens with it at 2. If it's too strong, let's put it back to 1.
So, my theory with Called by coming to the 2, all I got to say is, please. Like, please. Everybody's playing every single hand trap. Every hand trap, to some degree, is good. You have 3 Ash, 3 Bell, 3 Ogre. People are even on Gamma. Some people are on Phantasme. Nibiru is annoying as hell, but Nibiru is more so for the crossout.
Right.
Now, Call by the Grave, yes. Based on what you're about to say with your unlimits, yeah, it's definitely going to be needed at 2.
All right,
and I really think it's just so good. It's just very strong. That card can come back to 2. We've been dealing like the last 4 or 5 formats when they put it back to 1. It's just been like everybody's playing 15 to 18 hand traps, depending on what deck is like doing it's just doing it all in the meta right now. It's just so much going on. That card should have been at 2 for the longest.
Well, having said that, let's move on to the unlimits. And as you can see, I've got 5 here. So I've got Salamangreat Circle, Hot Take, Max C, Victory Dragon, which is kind of like my fun one, Trickstar Light Stage, and Scapegoat. So let's start with Salamangreat Circle. I'll just cover this one real quick. Again, Salamangreat is not doing anything right now. The deck space is already incredibly tight. Desires went down to 1, so it already hurt the consistency of the deck. I think Salamangreat Circle to 3 is not going to do anything. I don't really think there's any much more to say about that. What do you think?
Yeah, this card can come back to 3. It's a hard one per turn. It's quick play. Yeah, you can set it. You can add it back off your Sunlight Wolf. It's really good recursion. I just like the card a lot. It's not, like I said, Salad's not going to really do too much. People probably will play the deck more now with a 3rd Circle and a 2nd Gazelle. Probably get a little bit more representation, but I don't think it becomes a meta threat anymore.
Right. All right, so Maxi, here we are, the hot take of the day. I think this card needs to come back to 3, and I will tell you why. It's because, first of all, the Despia spell is a +5. Boom. That deck is going to continue to summon and summon and summon and summon. And not only that, I think people just want, like, I know a lot of people don't want Maxi in the game, but I think putting Maxi in the game will give a lot of chances for rogue decks, not decks that have the Brave engine. Pure rogue decks will now have a chance to compete in a metagame that has decks that special summon 27, 30 times per turn. Let's bring Max C back to 3. We bring it in and out of the game every so often. I mean, it hasn't been in the game for quite a long time. I just want to see Konami spice it up and give us back Max C, hopefully to slow the game down, because I think after Master Duel, a lot of people know now that once Max C gets dropped on your head, you stop special summoning. Your turn is basically over if you are a special summon heavy deck, unless you're going for game, unless you're going for deck out. So what do you think about this card, Brian?
Oh, man. So it's very interesting that we talk about this card, because it's like I bought me a playset a couple months ago thinking it would come back a couple months ago, and it didn't. That's fine. But now I'm just sitting here patiently waiting, because it's like, I think it will come back one day. Maybe this is the format where everyone's special summoning like 60 times a turn. Cool. Take the challenge. You gonna deck me out or not?
Right.
That's it.
That's it. Yep.
And it's like, if we're all playing the same amount of hand traps, it's like, I'm gonna draw this Nibiru. Now, can you put up a negate before I resolve this Nibiru? And then I go with my 17 cards in hand and draw number 18 per turn? Sure, let's rock.
Exactly. So I just want to see what it would do in our metagame. And I think it would give people a chance to play different decks that we don't normally see today, because just having this kind of as a safety, I think it would do well. It's in the OCG, so let's just have it back. Let's just get a shot with Max C.
Me personally, it's like, if they're gonna give it back, they're gonna have to give it to us at 3, because if they unlimit it to 1,
it's just like, way too sacky. It's way too sacky.
It's just a sacky one-of. It just becomes like another Call by the Brigade at that point, or the Imperial Order that's a one-of. Like, any one-ofs are just pretty much sacky at this point.
But it's like, look at all the cards that are in the format that are heavily played in the best decks that can counter this card. You have Crossout, you have Call by the Grave, you have Gamma, you have Ash, you have dude, there's so many cards. I mean, all the monster negates that your board can put up already. I mean, this card is easily negated, easily interacted with. I'd love to see it come back to 3.
Oh yeah, man. Me too. I personally, yes, I would love to see it come back. I just don't think they're gonna do it, but hey, I'm down for it if they do.
Moving on to the next card, I do have Victory Dragon. This is kind of like my funny one. I think it's kind of ridiculous, the fact that you can attack with this card, reduce your opponent's life points to 0, and win the entire match. But I think it kind of helps to mitigate the time rules in its own funny way. And of course, bringing this card back to 3, I don't think anyone would play it. I think that it would be a great card just like as a win condition, where if your opponent is not reading your cards, if you can catch them off guard, this card can be like kind of a way for rogue players to kind of get in there real quick and have a turn-ending attack. Again, it's kind of just more for fun. I don't think this card will actually come back. There's no reason for this card to come back. I just think it's really funny.
So cards that have like win conditions like that, like, are normally just never gonna come back into the game. But it's funny. I actually had one. I actually got one recently. Pretty cool. I actually sold it, but it was nice to have it. It looked really nice.
It's cool. And keep in mind, if your opponent's gonna attack you directly with this and reduce your life points to 0, you can just scoop.
Me personally, you don't have it on the list, but if I had to choose one card I would want to come back just for the fun of it, I personally want Cyberjar.
Cyberjar?
Cyberjar, why not, bro? Let's just flip. Let's see how many monsters we can summon or spells or traps we get to our hand. Let's rock. Let's rock.
I'm gonna say this card will never come back, but I'll put it up there anyway, just for shits and giggles.
I know it won't come back, but hey, it's like that's my fun unban as like Victory Dragon is yours.
Okay, that's fine. I think for the next card, Light Stage, Trickstar Light Stage, I think could come back. I think a couple years ago there was an issue with this card where it was too oppressive because you could just turn it into like an easy mermaid combo. But like this card at 1 is preventing people from playing Trickstars, and like it's kind of sad because Trickstars is a really fun deck. And I would love to see it come back into the metagame like as an anti-meta kind of strategy, because first of all, the Droll Reincarnation lock is still insane. And the fact that this card can lock back row is amazing. If I'm not mistaken, this card is not once per turn. It's not, and that's what kind of makes it. It's once per turn per copy, so you can just keep on adding. But the thing is, we have Terraforming at 1 now. We have Set Rotation at 1. We have Metaverse at 1. Like, we could easily get this card back and allow people to play Trickstars, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's been a couple years, so the card can definitely peel off. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Probably bring back some weird janky decks, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And then for the final card on the list, we have Scapegoat. Scapegoat is incredibly slow. It used to be that people would flip this card and immediately have like a Borreload, a Borreload Dragon combo. But yeah, no one's playing Borreload anymore. Although it would be really funny to see Borreload make a comeback into the metagame. It's still an incredibly powerful card.
Yeah, it's just pretty much at this point, it's like, unless you're using it for synchro summons or link climbing, there's really no purpose of the card.
But after all that, you know, those are our ban list predictions. This is me and Brian just kind of spitballing here and just seeing what kind of things we think could realistically happen. This is not a wish list, really, other than Harp and Max C. But, you know, I think these are just some very reasonable cards that could come back, or that could get the axe on the upcoming ban list. Let's see what Konami decides to do. It should be in the upcoming weeks that we should get our ban list. It could even be as soon as tomorrow or the day after if they really want to. But Brian, actually, before we get to any shout-outs, I personally want to first shout out my sponsor, Imperial Gaming Collectibles. Be sure to check them out for all your Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Vanguard, Dragon Ball Super, Magic the Gathering, Digimon needs. They've got accessories, they've got dice, deck boxes, cards, packs, singles. The staff is the friendliest staff out of any card shop I've ever been to. Alex, Art, Tiger, all the rest of you guys out there, thank you so much for all you do. Be sure to hit them up. Their link is in the description down below, so be sure to go check them out. I also want to say please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, what cards do you think could be hit on this next ban list? What cards do you think could be freed? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Brian, would you like to shout anyone out before we wrap up the video?
Shout outs to the Brody. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for having me on this. It was nice doing this with you. Shout outs to Evil Empire group chat. We all in here, bro. We all in here. Let's go.
Hey, baby, that's great. And God bless your family as usual. Shout out to your girl and to your daughter as well. Love them both with all my heart.
Thank you, Brody. Thank you. We all love you too, bro.
No problem. And as always, my name is PaperYugioh. Stay getting that paper, and I will see you in the next video.
Show you how to get to that shit, stack it up real high, real high. See the hate in your eye, but I can't tell just what you hating for. See you over there hating, but I don't really know what you